Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, October the 17th, 2017. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Here we are here on what really is the beginning of a transition for us on the show here. As I said, starting now and over the next, few weeks here and however long it's going to take us to get things off the ground, you'll notice some changes very slowly. We're not gonna, rip off the Band-Aid, but you'll notice over time that things are gonna be, improving, changing, all that kind of stuff. So you know what, again, for those that like who we are and don't really want too much change, I think you'll be satisfied. We're still gonna be the same in a lot of ways. It's just that we're kind of refocusing a little bit and trying to go back to the way we wanted things to be and the way things were at the beginning of it. And of this when we began our journey on Blog Talk Radio. We're just trying to, kind of get to what we really want this show to be and make sure that we're doing all we can with it and make it the best that it can be. So that's what we're going to try to do here as we, again, start to slowly try to implement changes and make things better. And we'll be doing that, again, starting tonight and over the next few weeks and even months. You'll slowly see us transition to more of what we're hoping to be and what we want to be. So just bear with us as we go through these kind of, I like to call them growing pains, if you will. 7 years in, sometimes that's what happens, things evolve and things change and that kind of thing. But again, I don't think anybody's going to be upset or like, oh God, you guys have changed too much. You're no longer what you used to be, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you'll have any of that, but there'll be some, it'll be noticeable what's going to be happening. It'll be noticeable. So with that being said here tonight, as always, want to start off by reminding you all of how you can get involved with the show. Take your turn in the spotlight by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com, and make sure that you follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at itspotlight411, and of course you can also like us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. I think I just repeated myself with the Facebook thing. So remember, follow us on Twitter. Just search at IT Spotlight 411. Again, at IT Spotlight 411. And on Facebook, just search for In the Spotlight 411 and make sure that you like us. I'm trying to, again, we're trying to be very, I'm not to say formal, but we're trying to be a little bit more concise and trying to save time for the things that we want to discuss. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with all these trying to cut down on some of the clutter, if you will. But anyway, so, all right. So here's, obviously we're on the air a little late. There were some things going on. I was also trying to get some information. There's been a lot of stuff tonight with the baseball playoffs and what's going on with the NBA and all that stuff. So I want to make sure I had some of the stuff ready to go here. So also my wife's been sick, so I've been trying to deal with that too. So it's been kind of, interesting. So, all right. So before we get going, let me give you all the lay of the land here for what's going to be coming up on the show this week. Tonight, I made a change. I said that we were going to do sports and wrestling tonight. I decided against, because there's so much sports stuff that we have to cover tonight, that I just decided that, you know what, it's better to just leave the sports stuff for tonight and move the wrestling to Thursday, because we do have a pay-per-view to preview on Thursday, and I thought that would be best to wait till Thursday on that. So on Thursday, we'll do TV, we'll do entertainment and wrestling on Thursday. So TV highlights, box office, any other entertainment stuff we have to do. And of course, again, we'll do wrestling. We'll be previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view, which will take place this coming Sunday on the WWE Network. We'll preview all the matches, make predictions, all that good stuff. And again, any time that we have, we'll do questions and comments from the fans. If you have a question or comment, you can submit it before the show or during the show on Thursday. So keep that in mind. So that's what we're going to do. So only change that I moved the wrestling stuff to Thursday when I thought we'd have more time. So that's, that's why I just thought it was for the best. So that's why we did that. So, so let's keep that in mind here. That's a small little change here. And that's what we're going to be having going on this week. As for what's going to be, what's going to be going on next week in the weeks to follow. I'm going to be honest. We're going to take things 1 week at a time. Not that we're not going to have shows next week. We are, but I want to be very careful because based on how we're going to be changing things up and everything, I don't want to plan something and then we have to change it and make everybody confused and all that stuff. So, I just thought it would be best to, but I'll let you all know on Thursday. I think Thursday will be the better day to let you all know what things. So that way I got to get a little bit of an idea of what next week will bring, if we have to change some things around or anything like that. So it's better to wait till Thursday than say something on Tuesday and then have to change it again on Thursday and then people get confused. So yeah, that's why I'll wait till Thursday and let you all know what's going to be going on next week. Obviously we'll be doing the usual stuff, but but other than that, if there's anything new or anything special that we want to add to it, I'll let you all know on Thursday. One other thing before we get into things here tonight. A lot of people have been asking me about Halloween, because Halloween is on a Tuesday this year. Are we going to be doing a show? I'm going to be honest with you. I think as of right now, it's probably doubtful. I think the last time we had Halloween on a Tuesday, I don't think we did a show. But let me get back to you next week on that. Right now, I'd say it's doubtful. We'll probably do some schedule shifting that week, but right now, I would say probably no. I don't think it'd be a good idea, but we'll see. So keep an eye out for an announcement on that as well. And again, I'll let you all know what's going on next week on Thursday and all that stuff. So just wanted to. So that's kind of what's going to be going on this week. And again, as for next week, I'll give you more information on that on Thursday. And again, Halloween right now doubtful as far as what we're going to be doing, if we're going to be doing a show or not. So I see Mike has is Mike's graphic up, so he must be in the spotlight. How you doing, Mike?
I'm here. Eating tea.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea tonight.
Yes, it is.
Now I mentioned before the show that I was following. There's been a lot of stuff going on tonight with the baseball playoffs, and NFL has some stuff going on, and in the NBA, it's opening night. First of all, we have to start off with what's been the big topic for the last maybe hour and a half or so. In case you don't know, obviously tonight is, I guess, the NBA opening night, and they open with a big game with the Celtics and the Cavaliers. And 6 minutes into the game, Gordon Hayward suffered a horrendously, just a terrible injury, a horrendous injury. And an injury that you're glad doesn't happen that often. The last time I remember seeing anything like this where nobody could even look at it was Kevin Ware, the Louisville player in the Final Four a number of years ago. And I'm sure if you've been on Twitter or on Facebook, you've probably seen a picture of this tonight, or you've seen the play. Nothing dirty about it. Two guys going up for rebound. In fact, it was Bron James that went up for the rebound, and Gordon and him went up for the rebound. Gordon came down the wrong way. He just landed the worst way you could possibly land. And as somebody that, I think whether you're somebody that played the game, especially if you're somebody that played the game, in any way, shape, or form, high school, college, pros, even grammar school, elementary school, whatever you want to call it, and then somebody just watches the game and enjoys it, I think you watch that, and first of all, if very few people can probably actually watch that. It's very hard. If you watch the game and you saw any of the clips, you see a lot of the players had to look away. Nobody could see it. Nobody wanted to look at it. And when that kind of thing happens, you don't even want to play. You're done. You're pretty much done. You don't want to continue the game. You're done. Now, obviously, you do, but you don't want to. It's just something that it's hard. You can't focus after that. You just can't. It's just too hard. So it's a rough. First of all, the most important thing that you think of is Gordon's health, and you hope that this is not going to be as. And again, it's bad, but you hope that everything gets taken care of, and that he'll be back on his feet and everything. He'll make a full recovery, and that's the first thing. Well, hi, Mike.
The Celtics, Brian. The Celtics.
First of all, you got to turn
that.
Okay.
The Celtics diagnosed him. Swear to God, this is true. Fractured right ankle. That was a fracture.
I know that, Mike.
look like a fracture.
I didn't say that.
No. I'm just making conversation.
Oh, I thought you were trying to imply that I was not making it serious. No,
No.
no. Listen,
No.
it's a left ankle fracture. First of all, I think Marv Albert was on the call, and he immediately thought he broke his leg.
But I'm impressed. That's what the Celtics
Yeah,
just diagnosed it. That looked like a Psycho Sid Vicious kind of break.
right. No, I see what you're saying.
It was crazy, and you know what? I gotta give respect to LeBron James.
Hmm.
Gordon Hayward was like the calmest person on the court after it happened, and LeBron James apparently walked right up to him when the staff was going up there. He was like, see if he was okay. There
My
weren't too many
understanding was
Boston players who did it, at least from this clip, but LeBron James was like right there the entire time. Isaiah Thomas spent a lot of time with Hayward in the
yeah. I also understand that LeBron James went into the locker room when when Gordon was taken in.
yeah.
So LeBron handled that very, very well. And look, before anybody, and I know somebody's going to be an idiot and blame him. He didn't do anything wrong. They went up for a rebound.
It was not a dirty play.
I mean, because somebody's going to say something like that.
Watch the clip. You can literally watch the clip on Twitter. Dirty play. It was literally just his leg was in the wrong spot when he was coming down.
Yes. No,
it was incidental contact.
He just landed the worst possible way he could land, pretty much. That's it.
But good for Gordon. I mean, his season's more than likely over.
6 minutes in. I mean,
it happens. It's
does.
horrendous.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Look,
it's just it happens. And by the way, I'm glad that took the attention away from Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Booed out of the building for his summertime antics.
And look, we all knew that was going to happen. But you want to know something? It does show you about the seriousness of, how things, like it does. Sometimes things happen to put things in perspective and how trivial that whole kind of nonsense is. You have that booing going on at the beginning of the game. And obviously all that people can talk about is Kyrie Irving versus the Cleveland Cavaliers and everything. And then with 6 minutes into the game, Gordon Hayward suffers that kind of injury. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, you know what? That's no longer important. This is important. This guy's health and well-being is important. And, and look, like Mike said, his season's probably done. Because you can't imagine that being any less than 6 to 8 months at the bare minimum. You can't. It's just going to be, it's one of those. It's a severe injury, and it's something that again you're very glad it's a rare thing that it happens because you're surprised it doesn't happen more often. How physical the game can be, and you're grateful that it doesn't happen more often. It's horrible to see. Nobody wants to see it. You could tell by the players' reactions. You could tell by the fans' reactions. It's horrible. And again, as a player, you as somebody that if you play the game in any capacity, it makes you get it. It resonates with you even more because you're like, oh my god. You just think about so many different things, and you think about. Sometimes you even think about, well, what would have happened if you were in that situation too? So it's a very difficult thing to watch. It's hard to watch. Nobody wants to see it, and sometimes, unfortunately, you see it by accident. I saw it by accident. I heard he was injured. I got the feeling it was ugly. I went on to Twitter to look for something else, and I came across the picture. And then at that point, I was like, oh my god, I would have got sick to my stomach. And that's I'm sure that's a common reaction, and it's just something you just don't want to see. So you know, you want to extend well wishes to him. Hopefully he makes a full recovery and gets through this. And he's a great basketball player, a great person. And you hate to see this happen to anybody, regardless of whether you're on your favorite team or what. It doesn't matter. You don't hate to see this happen to anybody. You don't wish it on anybody. And those players and those fans, I thought they handled themselves very well. I've seen sometimes fans get a little insensitive, and they didn't in that situation, from what I could tell. And LeBron did a very good job there. He did a very, very good job. And that's, you know, I know we shouldn't pat guys in the back in that kind of moment, we shouldn't pat guys in the back for being decent human beings, but you know what? Sometimes those have to be acknowledged, and I will acknowledge it. He did a very good job, as did most of those players. All those players did, but LeBron especially did a good job there. So, you know, again, the end result of the game is not going to really matter to too many people tonight. Again, those players are probably having a very, very hard time focusing, but, you know, but I think Cleveland. If I remember correctly, I think Cleveland's winning. I think last time I looked, it was 50-36. So, but you know, again, and we'll talk more about the NBA later. We're not gonna do a full season preview. We're gonna kind of just do what we did with the football, which is kind of just do a segment on it. We'll do that a little bit later in the show. I just wanted to lead with the Hayward thing because that's the big story right now. Everybody's kind of just in horror about what happened. So. Well wishes to him. I hope everything goes well for him, and I hope he gets through this. That's something you don't want to see. And you know, first game is the Celtics, 6 minutes in for that to happen, and for that to happen at all, any circumstance, it's just horrible. So, so we got baseball, we got football. We're gonna lead with the baseball because, you know, when we last were on the air, we were in a situation where, you know, we were looking at LCSs. We were waiting for the matchups to be set. We were waiting for the Cubs and Nationals to play things out. We're waiting for the Yankees and Indians to play things out. The Yankees pulled off a really big Cinderella kind of upset over the Indians. And then the Cubs, you know, did what some people really thought was unthinkable, which I thought was kind of weird, that they beat the Nationals when the Nationals, all they do is lose in the first round. So, you know, you get the Cubs advancing to play the Dodgers. You get the Yankees advancing to play the Astros. Those are your final four. Really quickly on the Nationals, I said that if they didn't win, that I thought they'd missed their window, and I think they did. I know that, you know, for the most part, a lot of those guys will be back next year. I know Bryce Harper's got one more year, but I know all that. And I don't know what they're gonna do. I assume they'll keep Dusty Baker. I know people get on Dusty, but Dusty's a very good players manager. He manages the Eagles very well in the clubhouse. He reminds me of Torrey. Sometimes you can get on him for his managing, but I mean in some spots. But for the most part, he doesn't. I've always found that even though Dusty makes some really bad mistakes, and sometimes he could be a bad communicator, and he was a very bad communicator with the Strasburg stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. You know, he was very bad with that. You know, sometimes he makes some moves with pitchers you don't understand sometimes, but no more than anybody does nowadays. If you've seen the way some of these playoff games have been managed. You know, I mean, there's things that you can get on Dusty about, but for the most part, I always find that Dusty ain't going to lose you the ball game. He's not. And if you look at that game, okay, you think about that final game 5, okay, Rodon getting picked off of first. That's not Dusty Baker's fault. That's the fault. First of all, I don't understand how a guy that doesn't have any speed is leading off to that extent off first base. That's a dumb move. I don't know where he thinks he's going. You know, again, you know, this is not a base stealer. Why is he leading off of first like that? You know, that's the kind of thing that you just don't fathom. You just don't fathom. You don't understand why somebody that's not a base stealer would be doing that. And even a base stealer in that moment, you can't get picked off. You cannot get picked off of first. And he does. And that's the end. And that's essentially the game, because that takes all the starts out of your rally. You have a rally going there. You're really excited. You're thinking you're going to get back in this. It's been a back and forth game. Neither pitching staff can get the other guy, the other hitters, the other offense out. You're thinking you're going to have this. You got this. You're at home. You got this. And then you get picked off of first base, and all of a sudden it's like, that's it. That kills your momentum. And it was dumb. That's not Dusty Baker's fault. Now, you can get on Dusty for that Strasburg thing in Game 4. Nobody knows what happened there. Whatever. Maybe Dusty convinced Strasburg to pitch when he wasn't going to pitch with the sniffles or whatever the heck he had. Look, I think enough's been said about that. We don't know what the situation was at this point. We don't. All right? It was battery managed by the Nationals, but the Nationals have a tendency to do that. Dusty battery managed it. Strasburg battery managed it. Collectively, they all battery managed it. But Strasburg went out there and pitched the best game of his life, so it's a moot point. It's a moot point. Ultimately, the Nationals just found every which way they could to lose that game. And the Cubs weren't giving it up easy. We're not getting the job done either, folks. All right, the Cubs did everything they could to lose that game. And I don't know what the hell Joe Maddon's doing now we know why Aroldis Chapman for the Yankees was bad most of the year and took him to September to get his arm strength back, because he rides his pitchers into he rides them into the ground. Why is your closer in the 7th inning? You don't have any other bullpen arms? You don't have any other bullpen arms. You're using John Lackey out of the – come on now. This is stuff that should have been dealt with back in July, August, or September. You have a minor league system. Bring some guys up and give them a whirl. Because I guarantee you this, folks, the way he's used Wade Davis in this postseason, okay – the only thing that might save Wade Davis is that they don't advance to the World Series, because you know what? If they do, that's even more on his arm. Because here's the thing. Wade Davis might have the same problem as Aroldis Chapman did this year for the Yankees, next year for the Cubs. I mean, you can't ride a pitcher like that. I am sorry. People can complain about Joe Girardi, what he does with the Yankees, going to the bullpen all the time. But at least he rotates pitchers in and out. He recognizes it can't be the same pitcher constantly having that kind of tax on his arm. At least he tries to protect the arms. Joe Maddon does not give a crap about any of these arms. He does not. He figures, well, I'm just going to try about the win in the here and now, and we'll see what happens next year. And look, I think Joe Maddon, as far as X's and O's goes, and as far as offense goes and defense and stuff, I think he's a great manager. But when it comes to managing a pitching staff, he's a horrendous manager. Horrendous manager. I thought Joe Torre used to be bad about running pitches in the ground. This is even worse. This is terrible. And a lot of times the Cubs win despite him as far as how he handles pitching. But as far as the Nationals goes, I just think they didn't make the plays. Every which way they could lose a game, they did. The misplays, the pick off of first in that 8th inning, which really I think decided the game, because I think the Nationals might have done more damage there. And maybe we would have been talking about the Nationals finally winning it if they'd done some more damage there. That pick off of first killed the rally. But the Cubs advance to play a team that had no issue beating the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we thought they would, but they didn't. The Dodgers woke up, and they looked like the better team, the best team in the National League in that series. You flip-flop to the AL. How did the Yankees come back on the Indians? Well, the Yankees are a different team at home. Even though they haven't played poorly on the road this year, they're a different team at home. They thrive, and this postseason, they have thrived off the crowd. And really, I think what you look at is that Game 3 when Tanaka pitched the shutout. He changed the momentum. I said this before, and I'll say it again. You're only as good as your starting pitcher. If your starting pitcher goes out there and guts it out and sets the tone, you have especially at home, you have a good chance of winning that game. You look at what Tanaka did in that Game 3, what Luis Severino did with a rebound performance in Game 4, what Sabathia did in Game 5. Even though he fell apart later on in the game, he set the tone. He kept things calm. He said to the Yankees, let's ease into this game. And the offense follows suit because they followed the lead of the starting pitcher. Even on the road in that Game 5 today, when Sabathia went out there and owned it and had that emotion coming out of him, and kind of said, hey, let's go, guys. Got to that first inning and look lights out. That woke the offense up. You're only as good as your starting pitcher. You look at any playoff series in professional baseball, it's always about your starting pitcher setting the tone. Even if they blow up later in the game, if they get you out of the gate good and they get that emotion going, that blood flowing, that gets you on the right track right out of the gate. And that's exactly what happened for the Yankees in those 3 games. Tanaka turned the tide with a his best performance as a Yankee. They got the 1 home run from Bird. Game 4, they got a little bit of offense, kind of blew it open. Game 5, they got out early, got a lead, and they never relinquished it. The Indians looked like, I don't know. Honestly, if you think about it, the Yankees lost that game too for themselves with the Joe Girardi. We talked about the misplay there and the bad decision to not challenge and everything. But look, you think about it, the Yankees should have won that game too. That series should have been over in 4. So the Indians did not play well that entire series. And, people are going to say, well, if they peaked too early. People are going to say, well, maybe something was wrong with Kluber, which I think there was. Because you could see it in the way that his breaking ball, was not spinning the same way. People are going to say, well, they shouldn't have brought Bauer back in Game 4. And this is the thing about the Yankees that I think people didn't give enough credit for. The Yankees have 4 starters that they can run out there. And I know they lost some faith in Sonny Gray, which they probably got some faith back tonight. But they got 4 legitimate starters. None of these other teams do. You look at the Dodgers, the Dodgers are probably the best equipped. They got 3 probably. The Astros really only have 2. The Indians really only had 2. If you think about Carrasco, Carrasco can probably get the job done better than Bauer in most cases, but okay, maybe 3. But still, the Yankees have more depth. And then you add the bullpen to it, and away you go. But I think, you're going to look at that series. Cleveland just did not play like themselves, and they got rattled. That Game 2, I think what happened was Game 1, you saw Bauer dominate the Yankees. Indians were like, oh, yeah, we got this. They got shell-shocked in Game 2 and then felt like they escaped with a win because the Yankees basically lost it for themselves. The Yankees got the momentum back in Game 3. And then in Game 4, I think they broke them. I really do. I think they broke them in Game 4. Psychologically, because you saw the errors, the misplays. That wasn't Indians baseball. That was not Indians baseball. And I'll say this too. When you see your ace, Kluber, get hit hard twice in a series, that has an effect on a team. Because you think about it, when you have a pitcher like a Corey Kluber or a Dallas Keuchel or whatever, you have those kind of pitchers. Those are your aces. And any team will tell you that when your ace gets beaten, not once but twice, in a playoff series, it hits you hard because those are the games you feel like, you know what, even if we come out there and only put about 2 runs on the board, we're going to win that game because he ain't going to give up more than 2. But when he does that, when he gives up more than 2, you go, wow, man, we're in a bad spot. We need to do a little bit more than what we would expected to do. And you start putting a little bit more pressure on yourself, and that changes everything. It changes the dynamics of everything, especially in a playoff series. And I think that's what happened to the Indians. The Indians were up 3-1 in that World Series last year, and they collapsed. And they were up 2-0 in this series, and they collapsed. They've lost, I think, 10 straight elimination games? It's not good. And that suggests that, they get rattled. They're not mentally tough enough. That's what that suggests. Meanwhile, you have a young Yankee team that once they got out of the wild card game said, hey, let's see how far we can take this. Nobody expects us to do anything this year. Now, the one thing about the Yankees is once you start getting playoff success, once they won that ALDS Game 5, that was the end. That was the breakthrough. Man, what they do now, that's even more house's money. This right now, no matter where it ends up, whether they lose this ALCS or whether they win the World Series, get to the World Series, lose the World Series, whatever. This is the only year that they're essentially playing with the house's money. Next year, it'll be back to square one again with the Yankees, where the same mentality is there. You win a World Series. This year, and people thought it was a rebuilding year. That ain't going to be the case come spring training this year. Not after what they've done this year. You can't sell anybody on a rebuild now. You can't sell anybody on wait till next year. That's what this postseason success, no matter what happens from here on out, changes the entire situation for them next season. Because all you were hearing for the longest time was 2019, no more. Regardless of what happens this year, it'll be 2018. And that's what this postseason run has changed for them. Now, you got the Cubs and the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Astros. On the AL side, you saw two really hard-fought games, game 1 and 2. A couple misplays by the Yankees, especially the misplay late. Sanchez not being able to catch that ball. Didi had a bad relay throw there from Judge. That ends the game. The Astros win that game too. Really, I mean, that's what it came down to. A couple miscues, some sloppy defense by the Yankees. Otherwise, good pitching. Didn't hit enough. But Verlander and Keuchel were really, really good. But Yankees pitching staff was really, really good in those two games too. You fast forward to tomorrow, last night, game 3. Yankees came out. Sabathia owned it again, set the tone, was brilliant. The bullpen shut the door. They were brilliant, except for Betances, who I don't think you're going to see probably for the rest of the series. They can avoid it. But the offense finally woke up. They score 8 runs. They get an easy win. And then you see tonight, which in my opinion might be, we'll see if I'm right. This game might have changed the entire scope of this series tonight. And not just because the Yankees were able to tie the series at 2-2. But it's the way that they did it. Sonny Gray came out, 12 days rest, thought he was going to be rusty. Maybe was a little bit early, but he gets through 5 innings, 5 1/3 innings, gives up a run late. The bullpen comes in, gets roughed up a little bit, ends up being 4-0 as they go to the 7th. You get a home run from Judge, you get a double from a triple from Didi. He scores. It's 4-2. You go into the 8th inning. They get a 5 spot on the board, and they end up 5 spot on the board, 4 spot on the board. They end up winning the game 6-4, coming back from 4-0 down in the last 3 innings on an Astros bullpen, which people don't. It's not a bad bullpen. It's an effective bullpen. This is not a bad bullpen. They got to him, and the thing that's going to be, I think, is huge for the Yankees. First of all, they got another game at home tomorrow. That's huge. And even though they got to play Keuchel and Verlander next 2 games, at least one of them you get at home, so that's a good thing. And I think with the Yankees, you want to try to win that game. But here's the thing about the Yankees: Aaron Judge woke up, Gary Sanchez woke up. Those are the 2 guys that you've been trying to get going all postseason. They both woke up tonight and hit good pitches. It wasn't that these pitches were hangers. They hit good pitches. And the way that you won that game is a huge momentum builder. It's a huge momentum builder, and it's a crusher for the Astros when you had a 4-0 lead and you're looking at being up 3-1 with Keuchel and Verlander going in the next 2 games and at least 2 more home games in your back pocket. That's a huge momentum swing. And here's the thing for the Yankees, before I get to the NLCS for tomorrow. They have to come out tomorrow. First of all, Tanaka has to be great. All right? They have to come out and score first. And I know on Keuchel, they do terrible on Keuchel. They got to take their pitches. They have to be smart. And if they can get a lead tomorrow night, then I think it's the same thing as what happened in the Indian series. When you win these last 2 games the way you did, you get a lead early, then you get the Astros on the ropes in your building. And you have a chance to be up 3-2 with 2 chances to close them out on the road. Because I think the only way the Yankees win this series, is by winning tomorrow. I don't think they can win 2 road games in Houston. I don't think they can. It's the same thing I thought. Now in the ALDS, you had a little bit of a different situation because it's a 5-game series. And they only had to play that 1 game in Cleveland. And that's a game that, hey, you only got to win 1 game. But if you win tomorrow at home, you go to Houston, you don't have to, if you lose to Verlander, you tip your hat, you get a game 7 where you feel like maybe you feel better about the matchup. You got CC on the mound, and I would guess, I don't know who they'd pitch. Because they're going to use Keuchel, they're going to use Verlander. They used Morton in game 3. I don't think they do that. They'd probably bring McCullers back on short rest because he was good in this game. And I don't know why they took him out. Oh, wait, I know why. Sabermetrics. Oh, the 3rd time through the lineup. We can't have a pitcher pitching the 3rd time through the lineup. Maybe your pitcher some more and see what happens. Because that's what's happening. A lot of these managers are losing games. I said this last week. I'll say it again. These managers are losing games by pulling their pitchers too early. You cannot ride your bullpen the way you are. I don't care if it worked for certain teams or not. Here's the thing. People like to think the Royals started this. The Royals did not use their bullpen like this. Not like this. Not game in and game out. Some of their starters actually went into the 7th inning, folks. I mean, if you have a pitcher or two that can't go past 6, that's fine. But you can't keep doing this every game no matter who's on the mound. It's getting ridiculous now. Managers are losing games and turning series because they're afraid of their starting pitchers facing guys for the 3rd time in a game. What are you paying these guys for? These starting pitchers are getting how much a year and you're not going to face the guys third times in the lineup? And you wonder why the next day you have no bullpen left. It's ridiculous. Because if McCullers in that game, I don't think the Yankees win that game tonight. Stupid move. Stupid move. But they did win the game, and you have a tied ALCS 2-2. Again, tomorrow, Game 5 from Yankee Stadium, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You're going to have Masahiro Tanaka for the Yankees and Dallas Keuchel for the Astros, a rematch of the Game 1 pitching matchup. So it should be a great, great game. Be a lot of drama. And again, I think if the Yankees have to win that game to win the series, I 100% think that. Otherwise, I don't think they win the series. I don't care how much momentum they have. I think they have to win their home games. I think that's the biggest thing for them. So that's why losing both those one-run games early in the season really hurt, because they had the opportunity to probably close it out at home. Because I think if they had won one of those games, I think they would have closed it out at home. I honestly think that. But the NLCS has had very little drama other than the walk-off by, goodness. Well, I can't even think of his name at this point. Wow. I'm blanking on his name. I'm going to have to look up his name and make sure I get the name right. I know the player. I can place the player. Wow. It's not Seager. It's not Seager. Not Bell. Turner. Sorry, Turner. The walk-off by Turner. First of all, look, the Cubs, so again, somehow they managed to keep things close in these first 2 games. You know, when really they shouldn't be. I mean, look, their pitchers did okay jobs. They did okay jobs. But honestly, you look at it, you feel like the Dodgers should have had more. They did. And it should have come down to what it did. Look, the Dodgers did their thing in Game 1. It was a solid outing. You're finally getting some stuff out of okay, at this here. You finally got something out of Kershaw, which again was the big key for them. You know, Hill's been great. Hill's an underrated pitcher, man. He's underrated. But and now you got, and again though, the walk off and by Turner. And again, you wonder, he goes to John Lackey there. Again, why are we? I don't know why we're going to starters there. Oh, I know why, because we're using our bullpen pitchers too early in the game. That's why we're going to them. So again, bad management, bad pitching management, especially by Joe Madden. But the Cubs lose that game on a walk-off. They go down back to Wrigley Field, down 0-2. Right now, it's 2-1 Dodgers in the top of the 5th. Darvish on the mound for the Dodgers. Hendricks on the mound for the Cubs. Cubs got out to a lead. Easter and Taylor have both hit home runs. It's 2-1 Dodge. That game on TBS. It's a must-win for the Cubs, because here's the thing: even if the Cubs, let's say the Cubs lose tonight, they could very well win the next 2 games. They could, but you're again coming back from 3-0. It's only been done once, and I don't like to think about the once. Okay, so I would say again, this is a must-win. It's a must-win for the Cubs tonight, and I think the scary thing for them is you're facing a guy in Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish is a very deceptive pitcher tonight. Yu Darvish is a very deceptive pitcher to face, and he's a very tough guy to face on a night like this when you've got so much pressure on you. He's an easy guy to get in your head because he doesn't overthrow. He's not, he manipulates the ball. He spins the ball. He's got good breaking pitches. He's a tough guy to face in a situation like this when you got so much pressure on you. You're probably already going to be pressing. So Cubs, we got to find a way to get it done. And the ball's flying out of Wrigley tonight, and they're home more. They like to hit for power, so they better get the job done tonight. And look, I think the Dodgers are probably going to win the series. I really do. The Cubs, to me, are lucky they're even here. They've struggled all. They've had. It's been a struggle for them this year. The pitching has not been good. The bullpen's not that good. The starting pitching's been lackluster. They're very lucky they had enough of a second half to get here. They're very lucky they got out of the first round. The Dodgers are far and away the better team, and honestly, I think the Dodgers win the series. I really do. I really think this is it's just not even remotely close in terms of quality of teams here. So you give the Cubs credit for finding ways to win games, even when things aren't really should go their way. The Dodgers, look, they had a rough end of the season when they, at one point were easily the best team in baseball. They had a rough end of the season, but they've woken up. They've been dominant. They haven't lost a single game in this postseason yet. They're right now. We said it all year. I think most of us felt like they're the team that deserved to go to the World Series, and right now they're looking like it. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you up to date on the Dodger Cub game as we go on throughout the night. That is Game 3 at Wrigley Field, top of the fifth, 2-1 Dodgers. That game again on TBS. So we'll keep you updated on that game. And again, the ALCS knotted at 2 games after the Yankees won 6-4 earlier tonight. Game 5 of that series tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern on FS1. So that's the state of baseball right now. Really quickly, I want to jump to football. And I do mean quickly because you know what? And there's a lot of things going on right now. We've been talking about this so much. We spent more time this year probably talking about other things besides, just the games and who's in first and all that stuff because it's been such a rough year. The quality of play, we talked about it. It's gotten better, but it's still you're seeing the parity in football. And I'm sure Mike, anybody will tell you. Parity is usually what people use to cover up the fact that it's mediocrity, average. That's usually what it's a better way of saying it. And you've seen it in baseball, you've seen it in the NBA before. The recent surge of super teams. You've seen it in college basketball. Where it's just like teams, you look at it and every time you think a team is a top team, they lose to a team that they should have no business losing to. And you're like, well, geez, how do I read these teams? Well, if you're looking at the NFL right now, you have no idea how to read any of these teams. I spoke last week. I said, well, we're in the second part of the season. And, we're in the second part of the season. Usually at this point, you start looking at these teams and you go, all right, these are the top tier teams. These are the teams that are in the mix. These are the teams that are, barely. Throw it all out the window. Forget what I said last week, because at this point, I think right now, you don't know what to expect from any of these football teams. You really don't. I think you feel okay in putting probably Kansas City and Philly at the top, okay, as far as best teams right now in the AFC and the NFC. Notice how I said right now. All right? I think you put New England near the top because that they're going to find ways to win games. You probably put Carolina up there because they're probably going to find ways to win enough games. I think you probably put Pittsburgh up there because, again, you think they're going to find a way to win enough games. Maybe Denver, although they just lost to a team that was 0-5 in the Giants. And then there's and let's mention the Giants real quick. They lose their best player, Odell Beckham Jr. for the season. They come out and play better without him in a tough environment in Denver when nobody gives them a chance. And they don't just beat Denver; they outright beat Denver 23-10. So you got that. Atlanta, a team that we said, oh wow, a week ago, well, you know what? No Super Bowl hangover. Atlanta, they're well on their way. They go into Miami, they go to play Miami, and they lose to Miami when they were up 17-0. But Miami scored 20 unanswered, and they lose at home to the Miami Dolphins. So who is Atlanta? Baltimore loses to the Bears. The Bears are beating the Ravens and the Steelers. The Steelers beat Kansas City. Okay, we can live with that. The Steelers, for some reason, always have Kansas City's number. Fine, whatever. Washington barely beats the 49ers. the Jets probably should have beaten the Patriots if it wasn't for a rule that really nobody likes. So you give the Jets credit. They're doing much better than anybody would give them credit for. Nobody can make heads or tails out of Jacksonville. One week they look like a team that's on the precipice of breaking through. The next week they lose to the Rams, who you don't know who they are either. One week they beat a good team. Next week they lose to a terrible team. The Raiders will give them a pass because Carr's been hurt. They lose a 1-point game to the Chargers. But again, you give them a little bit of a pass because Carr is hurt. Arizona, you're ready to just give up on. They go play Tampa Bay and they beat them 38-33. Now, Green Bay's case is a little different. Aaron Rodgers is hurt, and he's probably done for the year because this time it's his throwing shoulder, not his other shoulder. Remember, last time he came back from this a collarbone injury early was because he wasn't his throwing shoulder. This is his throwing shoulder. He's probably done. So there goes Green Bay. If you thought they were elite, they were my Super Bowl pick, or one of my Super Bowl picks. Minnesota beats them 23-10, so you can't put anything in the Green Bay right now. It's Aaron Rodgers comes back in a miracle. Houston handled their business. That was probably, the most. And New Orleans beat Detroit handily. Those two wins were probably, if you look at, and maybe Philly beating Carolina, those were probably the best pure wins, the most stable kind of results that you saw all week in the NFL. If you're somebody trying to pick these games, good luck, because nobody knows what to expect week in and week out with any of these teams. Like I said, you could put the Chiefs and the Eagles probably at the top right now, and then you have maybe the Patriots and maybe the Steelers and maybe the Redskins and so a couple other teams at up there, but in Patriots, but you really don't know what to expect. I'm telling you, folks, parity can be fun sometimes, but you do have to have some distance. Some of these teams have to separate themselves from the pack to make it fun, because you can't tell, you can't make heads or tails of what's an upset, what's not. You can't figure these things out. In addition to all the controversies and all the other stuff going on, that's what's making the ratings go down, and the quality of play and all this other stuff. That's what's making it all go down. The ratings go down. People can't figure this out. It's rough to watch. I mean, yeah, is it fun to have some teams that you wouldn't think lose all the time, lose at times? Yes, but it's happening so often now that it just makes you think the whole league is bad. That's not good. And I've seen some people saying, well, maybe all the controversies and that has the players focused on other things. Maybe. I guess you can say that. Maybe it is. But I don't know if it's just that. To me, it looks like far more. Now, Ezekiel Elliott is going to be eligible to play Sunday. It was another judge overturn type situation. That whole thing keeps going back and forth. So the Dallas will have him. And look, no, if you want, you can't write off Dallas right now. Nobody knows what Dallas is. Dallas kind of regressed too. Nobody knows what to make of any of these teams. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's unbelievable at this point. And I shudder to look at my picks, but I have to. And obviously, I've had a very bad year. I think most people have. I picked the Panthers over the Eagles, which I shouldn't have done. I guess I should be buying the Eagles now. That was a loss on my part. I picked the Broncos over the Giants, which, again, most people would have done. That was a loss on my part. Chiefs over Steelers. That was a loss on my part. Got the Saints over the Lions. Loss on the Packers. And I picked the Packers over the Vikings. That's a loss. But that was a little bit different. And I got a win on the Patriots over the Jets. So I got 2-4 again, which is kind of my mantra this year. Again, nobody's doing well on picks. Nobody. A topsy-turvy week of the NFL, and what has been a topsy-turvy season, full of inconsistent play, full of controversy, full of just a lot of things. And it's, you know what? This is the first. I'm really glad we're not doing a football show anymore, because I don't know how to even make a show out of it. I really don't. You just don't know what to fix it and what to talk about, because honestly, you don't know what to make of any of these teams. You just don't. You just don't. And as you look at week 7, and and we thought last week didn't have many good games. Well, a lot of them turned out to be good games. A lot of them turned out to be upsets. You look at week 7. You start off with a really good game on Thursday night, and we're going to pick that game between Kansas City and Oakland. That will be taking place at Oakland. Now, look, Oakland, again, with the car injury and stuff, you really, I think you have to give them a little bit of a pass. You look at it and go, okay, you know what? They're going to be a little bit inconsistent until they settle in and get everything going again. To me, I think Oakland's going to be up for this game. I think Oakland's going to see this as an opportunity to kind of close the gap here and get back in this race with the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to respond well here coming off the loss, but they're a much different team on the road, too. And even though I think they're going to rebound, and if they're against any other team, I might pick them to win. I'm picking the Raiders to win this game over the Chiefs, because I think the Raiders are going to turn a corner. I think they're going to kind of shed some of these, what's been going on with, Carr being hurt, and I think they're going to kind of come into their own this week. And I think Kansas City will be a very, very tough team to face this week coming off the loss. But again, they're on the road. That was home, they'd probably win handily. But on the road, it's a very different ball game. And I think Oakland's going to be ready to play. And I think Oakland's going to want to make a statement win here. I like Oakland to win this game. Plus, they always tend to give Kansas City fits, I think, so defensively. So I like the Monday night game. And by the way, Detroit and Houston are the two teams with buys this week. I like the Monday night game. Washington at Philly. This is a big game for Philly because Philly's been listening to, it's the Redskins and the Eagles for this division. It's a chance for the Eagles to put some distance between them and the team that many people view as their competition this year. The Eagles have really impressed me on both sides of the ball, and they're at home. I like the Eagles in this game. I think it's going to be a really good game to watch on Monday night. Probably one of the better games they're going to have this season on Monday Night Football. Big Sunday night game. Rematch of the Super Bowl. The Falcons at the Patriots on NBC. Both teams have, had their bumps this year. The Patriots have been terrible defensively since the beginning. Offensively, they do their thing. Atlanta just suffered a terrible loss to Miami at home. They're going to try to show themselves to be better than that this week. This is a tough game for me because I think if this were in Atlanta, I'd pick Atlanta easily. But because it's not, even with their defense being as bad as this, I think New England's going to find a way to win this game. So I'm going to pick the Patriots over the Falcons to win on Sunday Night Football. So as you can see, we have a lot better games this week on paper. Let's see, what else do I want to call? Got to pick 3 more. I like the Tampa Bay at Buffalo game. That's on the 1 o'clock window on Fox. That should be a close game. Buffalo coming off a bye. That followed a game in which they kind of struggled to score points. Tampa Bay coming off a tough loss. Tampa Bay has proven that they can score points. The question is, can they defend? Buffalo's going to really, but we know Buffalo can defend, but can they score enough points? So it's a little bit of a real nice, real balanced game here. I actually like Buffalo to win this game. I think Buffalo's defense will hold the Bucs down enough, and I think they'll be able to score enough on the defense of the Buccaneers, which isn't great. It's okay, but I think they'll be able to score enough. So I like the Bills in that game at home, coming off a bye. Let's see. I need 2 more games. Yep, 2 more games. Let's see. What game do I think will be the good games? Let's go with the Ravens at the Vikings. Vikings are doing what they did last year. Playing good defense, trying to run the ball, grind out wins. Baltimore has been very uneven this year. Some games you look at them, they kind of look like a team that might surprise you and be back to where they would like to be. And there's times where you say, you know what, they're really on the downturn. They got to start thinking about rebuilding. What Ravens team will show up, we'll see. To me, this probably will be a very ugly, low-scoring game. In that case, I think the Ravens will probably eke out a win because I think they have a little bit more offense than the Vikings do. So, I'll go with the Ravens over the Vikings. Again, the Ravens don't mind playing that kind of game. They'll play a low-scoring game. So Ravens over Vikings. And then the last game I'm going to pick, Seattle at the Giants in the 4 o'clock window on CBS. a week ago, I would have said this game would have been just something that you don't even want to tune into. But the Giants look so good without Odell Beckham Jr. I think it kind of caused everybody to kind of step up, and maybe they don't have the distraction anymore. Maybe it just, I mean, maybe it just makes it more efficient. I don't know. Maybe it opens things up a little bit more for them. I don't know. But I think the Giants at home are going to put up a representative showing here, enough to make this a close game. I'm still going to pick Seattle because I think, before they went into a bye, Seattle looked like they turned a corner. So who knows? Maybe the bye week will ruin their momentum a little bit. But I think that they look like they turned the corner. So I think they're the better team at this point. So I'm going to pick the Seahawks over the Giants in a close one. But boy, you know what? After what the Giants did last week to the Broncos, it is possible. And look, the Giants know there's no margin of error. And sometimes they play their best football when their backs are against the wall. We thought they'd realize they'd come out of it earlier. But, hey, maybe they had to reach rock bottom before they could do that. So I don't know. But I think it's going to be a very close game. But I think Seattle will eke out the win. So Seattle over the Giants. So Raiders over Chiefs, Eagles over Redskins, Patriots over Falcons, Bills over Bucks, Ravens over Vikings, and Seahawks over Giants. Your picks for Week 7 of the NFL. And that's all I got to say about it. Because again, the quality of the quality, not necessarily the quality, but these games, these teams, are too hard to figure out. Really too hard to figure out. So, but yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this week you notice a little bit of separation, and we'll see how things go. Some people asked me about how I felt about what happened in college football this weekend. I'm very happy for Syracuse. That's a program-changing win, beating Clemson. There was a lot of upsets this weekend. Washington lost a lot of upsets. We'll start talking a little more college football, I think, in the next 2 weeks, because again, the playoff rankings will be coming out, and now that there's been a lot of shifts, I think things are going to even get even more dramatic here as we head into November. That's when it really starts to matter and become big. So we'll talk more about it. But yeah, I mean, it was a big weekend. They had a lot of upsets. It was a lot of entertaining football, and look, it's entertaining more people in the NFL right now because there's enough distance between some of these teams, and upsets feel like true upsets at this point. So. But we'll talk more college football as we go along here and into November as the playoff rankings become more and more significant as we approach the stretch run. So, as I said, we want to do a little NBA tonight as we look at the season. And obviously we talked about Cleveland and Boston. They started up the season earlier. Irving greeted with boos and Gordon Hayward's injury, and Cleveland ended up winning the opener 102-99. So a very, very close game. So credit Boston with finding some way. Credit both teams for finding some way to play through after what happened. Tonight you got a second game on TNT, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Houston and Golden State will open their season as the Warriors will get their championship rings. So a lot of things to look at here as you enter the season. Obviously, a lot was going to be made of Cleveland and Boston, and now I think that dynamic has changed drastically with no Gordon Hayward. You don't know what's going to go on with the Celtics here. I mean, Irving's going to have to carry the load without him. Who knows when he'll be back and what will happen, but that changes the dynamic of everything with the Celtics and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are obviously the favorite in the East. Again, even with this Irving Thomas trade. And then you look at some other teams in the East like the Wizards and the who I always think are ready to break out and surprise some people. You look at the not the Pacers. What's the other team? Oh, the Raptors will be at the top there. The Bulls will be rebuilding. They don't have Wade anymore. I don't think you really, if you think about it, outside the Cavaliers, the Wizards, and the Raptors, I don't think, and the Celtics will probably do good enough to stay in it. You don't buy into anybody else in the East. You just don't. There's nobody else there to even buy into. The West is completely different. Golden State will be at the top. The Spurs will be right up there. The Rockets will be right up there. The Thunder, now with all the moves they made. So I think you look at those teams as the teams to beat in that league. And then you look at, the Clippers will be down, probably be a playoff team, still be down. The Pelicans will probably be in the mix. The Grizzlies will probably be in the mix. So that will be the story in the West. The Spurs have re-signed. Well, I mean, he wasn't going to go anywhere this year, but they've signed an extension with Marcus Aldridge, which is shocking because a lot of people thought he might be traded. He did not like what was going on with the Spurs. Apparently, they're happy with him, so he's staying. So that's good for their long-term future, and that's a distraction that's no longer in play. When people ask me how I think this NBA season is going to go, I think it's going to go a lot like last year, only I think there's going to be fewer teams that you legitimately think could potentially shock people and pull an upset. Because if you think about, like I said, the West, the Clippers aren't going to be what they were last year. They basically broken up. The Rockets will probably be what the Clippers were last year. The Thunder will be a better team, and they'll probably challenge the Spurs for probably the 2 spot. Warriors, provided they stay healthy, will be the 1. And then you have a bunch of other teams at the bottom there that one's going to really factor in anything. It's going to be a battle between Golden State, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Houston. And I think, and I would favor Golden State and any of those matchups at this point until proven otherwise. And in the East, like I said, the Celtics, we'll see what happens with Haywood. They're going to be down. They're going to be down. They're going to be in the mix, but they're going to be down. So that probably opens the door for the Raptors to be that 2 because they're the team that's still together and they're the team that you trust the most to be able to be consistent enough to be in that mix. The Wizards will be up there too. They might be able to pull up a 3 now with the Celtics being what they are, being down. But it's the Cavaliers to lose. So you're pretty much set for providing everybody stays healthy for the Cavs and the Warriors part 4? That's pretty much what it is. There's not much else you can say. This is why you can't do too much of a preview segment or a preview show on the NBA because it's pretty predictable at this point. A lot of these guys, you got the super teams. Cleveland's a super team. We all know what they have. Boston wasn't a super team, but they have their talent. And now tonight they lost one of their more talented players. In the West, you got San Antonio, you got Golden State, you have Houston, and you got Oklahoma City, all which have some of the most talented players in the NBA. Nobody else, there's nothing else to look at in the West. So it's basically Golden State, Cleveland, again, provided everybody stays healthy and everything goes as planned. I don't think any trade deadline moves can upset that. I don't think anything can upset that. Look, I think the team, if they play well together, okay? If they play well together, the only team I can see beating Golden State on the West is Oklahoma City. It's the only team. And that's a big if. I don't see anybody beating the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East now that the Celtics are compromised. I don't see anybody doing it. So it's Cleveland, and more than likely Golden State, unless Oklahoma City can beat Golden State. And that's why a lot of people are going to write off this entire NBA season because they see it coming. And storyline-wise, there ain't a lot going on either. Obviously, there'll be a lot of eyes on the Knicks to see how Porzingis does and see how they fare without Carmelo Anthony. Obviously, people want to see how Oklahoma City, all the talent Oklahoma City and Houston comes together now, see if the egos don't clash or the teams don't mesh after all the moves. Can a team like the Wizards or the Raptors break through and somehow upset the Cavs? Doubtful, but, people are still cling to that. Dwayne Wade's back in Cleveland with LeBron. We'll see how LeBron and company does without Kyrie Irving, which I imagine they'll do fine. Kyrie Irving, how is he doing with Boston? Now that he's going to – and look, Kyrie Irving wanted to be the guy. He's going to be the guy now. There's nobody else on that team right now that's a go-to guy. So, we'll see. I mean – what can Golden State do? Can they have a historic season again like they did a couple years ago and finish the job and win another championship, repeat as champions, and maybe even get a historic record winning total like they did a couple years ago? Remember, they got the historic win total, but they lost in the finals. Maybe they can do the whole thing this year. A lot of people, now as far as teams that, not on anybody's radar that might surprise you, be like a sweeper team. Look, I'll pick some sweeper teams, but I don't think any of them are going to upset anybody big. Okay, my sweeper team in the West is the Phoenix Suns. I like how they drafted. I like how they're playing in preseason and such. I think the Suns are a sweeper in the West, and my sweeper in the East is the Brooklyn Nets. I like what they did. I think they built a very good roster from what they had. I think they'll play better. I think they'll be a little more. I think they'll be a playoff team. But again, neither one of those teams are going to be anybody good. But I think they're on their way to building something. Those would be my two sweeper teams, and that's all I got. Because I don't think there's not much else you can say about this week. And that's why, while they'll get the good playoff ratings because people, either the Cavs and Warriors haters will want to see the big teams get upset, or the Cavs and Warriors fans will want to see how they do as they journey back to the finals again. Of course, the finals numbers will be great. But on the one hand, while you got that going for the playoff numbers, your regular season numbers are going to be terrible because nobody's going to care because they're going to know they get a foregone conclusion that the same two teams are going to meet in the finals. That was the problem last year, and that's going to be the problem this year. It reduces storylines. It hurts people's attention on the league. It's rough. But what are you going to do? It's the way things are. I mean, in the big games, you just won't get a lot of attention. It's the way it goes. So that's my feelings on the NBA. Now, Mike, do you have any thoughts on this as we enter this NBA season? Anything strike you as interesting, or
do I have any thoughts on what?
The NBA. Again, we're entering the season. Any thoughts? Anything strike you as interesting as we enter things, or?
As we enter things,
Enter the season, start the season. Yeah.
Most of the league is not going to be very good again this year. I think really most of the East is not going to be very good this year. I think there are sleeper teams. I think Milwaukee kind of broke through a little bit. I think Toronto might be on the cusp of doing something still. Would be decent, but I'm not expecting Phoenix. Like literally nothing out of Phoenix. So if they can do something great, that. I'm expecting it to literally just kind of be like a two. It's going to come down to the Cavaliers and the in the end. That's how it does. This is how it's going to be, For better or for worse, too. Better or for worse. And I don't have real thoughts and statistics to back this up. I don't. It's just feeling from what I see. I think the Spurs are going to will be competitive, and I think the Thunder are going to be competitive. I don't think I think on paper those teams look great, but I think especially the Thunder, things aren't going to gel well. Honest to God, I think things will not gel well. So, but then again, I'm looking forward to seeing what we got this year. The Celtics did take a hit. God, honest to God, they took a hit this year. And I really don't like saying that, especially since after Gordon Hayward got injured. It's really not the nicest thing to say is,
right.
The Celtics will not be the same team. But Gordon Hayward figured into a lot of their plans this year. He went down with a huge injury, and yes, we do hope sincerely that he heals. We hope that it's just a fracture, It's going to be a long road to recovery, and the Celtics clearly are not the same team. Fact,
Mm-hmm.
They better just deal with the fact that Kyrie Irving is going to be there working for his max deal.
Yeah.
Bigger deal than him going down. Just the fact that he's going to be focused on that max deal, exclusively the max deal. The Celtics. but I think the Celtics could be good, even despite all of their setbacks. The East, I think, is going to be really, really interesting. Really interesting. Especially because I think Milwaukee broke through a little bit, because I think Toronto just might be there. I think the Bulls could be decent, but it's hard to say. There are teams that I think are on the cusp. That are on the level, and it's Cleveland. It's basically it's Cleveland, and it's Golden State. It.
Yeah.
So this NBA season could be interesting, but I don't think the style of play is going to be outstanding. It could be interesting with a lot of the developments, especially with the way the league could develop. The problem with this is kind of killing this league a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
No, but everybody wants to play with the other good players, but I think super teams are killing the league because, all right, well, and Russell Westbrook and blah 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 are playing on one team, and it's not good for the league. It's not good for business when everybody is on the same team. But split, which is why I'm kind of stuttering a little bit. But
no, it's okay.
I don't know. I see. It's not great for the league. That's all I could say. But that's the reality of the league. Super teams, regardless if they think they're a super team or not, it is what it is. It's a reality the league has to fight and kind of just accept. So I think the two super teams are on the cusp. Going to do good.
Yes.
But there it is. I cannot believe Brian didn't want to ask me about baseball earlier.
Well, I didn't think you had an interest, but do you want to add anything about what's going on?
Yeah, Joe Girardi almost screwed up today.
Oh.
Yeah. He almost screwed up pretty hard today. But you know what? It's tied. I agree with you. The Yankees do play. They do play, except the time that I went. They played better at home. Fucking Todd Frazier. They're doing okay. They win one more at home. One more at home. They just have to find a way to win on the road. And it's been a little bit of a challenge for them sometimes this year. Who's to say? We could have an interesting series. The AL series certainly got more interesting than the NL series and in the NL series.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say this right now. The Dodgers have the Cubs on the ropes right now.
It's not good because people are like a lot of people are hoping the Cubs, after 90-something years, 100-something years, the Cubs finally just kind of they finally repeat.
Finally repeat.
They finally repeat. And you know what? The Cubs are a very good team. It's just the Dodgers are just woke up. Dodgers are like, no, we're not going to take this nonsense.
No, the pitching is killing the Cubs. It really is.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. The Dodgers pitching, their hitting has been there. The pitching has been there. The Dodgers pitching finally got there. It got to the point where the Dodgers were on the cusp for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're finally, it's almost like they put it all together. Well, and that's interesting. It's very interesting, the fact that it seems like they got it. And by the way, do you think baseball really wants the Yankees Dodgers World Series?
Yes. Why wouldn't they? Both coasts, the history between the Yankees and the Dodgers. Oh, yeah. They're okay with either one.
I think the only team they're not okay with being in the World Series are the Houston Astros.
Yes,
Let's be clear here.
110%. Yes.
Look, it has nothing to do with the Houston Astros.
No, the team's fine.
Who's the biggest draw in baseball?
New York Yankees. Yankees,
So
Cubs, Red Sox, you go on and on. But, yeah, I mean, look, they can't go wrong with Yankees, Cubs. That's a dream. Yankees, Dodgers is a dream, too. Either way is a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, I know you know what the difference is with the Dodgers. I just figured this out. What is one of the things that I always used to say off the air about the Dodgers? They're never going to go anywhere if Clayton Kershaw doesn't start pitching in the postseason well.
Yeah, he finally started pitching the postseason well.
There it is. I said the minute Clayton Kershaw shows up, they'll probably win a postseason series, and there you go. So everything.
It's like Clayton Kershaw finally decided to play, huh?
They finally woke up.
Long enough.
I'll tell you something. Nobody cares what you do in April to September. They care what you do in October. They don't.
That's right.
The truth. You can have a horrible season. You could have a horrible, horrible season, go into the playoffs, bat 300, and or get that game-winning hit, and nobody's gonna think about Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone did not. I remember the Yankees traded for him in August or mid-July. Didn't do a damn thing for the regular season. Now, granted, the Yankees lost that World Series, but what's Aaron Boone? All that what he did in the regular season is forgotten because he had that big Game 7 home run.
That's right.
That's right. It's easy.
And that's literally all it takes.
Yep. It's easy as that. But right now it's 3-1 Dodgers in the top of the 6th with two men on still and nobody out in the top of the 6th. And remember, the Cubs bullpen is not any better. And Joe Madden will probably bring Wade Davis in the 6th inning to further screw up his arm.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that just bugs me. I'm sorry, I can't with that, but I ranted about it enough. All right, so we'll talk about as we go along, continue to talk about the baseball playoffs, and by next week we'll have a World Series matchup, so that'll be good. So we'll talk about that, and again, as always, we'll follow these things as they go along. As I said, we moved the restaurants up to Thursday. We have more time. I know a lot of you have been emailing me about the Nia Jax story.
Nia Jax story?
There was a rumor going around that she walked out of Raw yesterday. And it was mentioned today that she's been granted a leave of absence by WWE for an indefinite period of time. So I don't know. Now, a lot of people are like, maybe that's their way of covering and trying to negotiate. I don't know. But that's what WWE is. That's what's coming out, is that she's been granted a leave of absence for an indefinite period of time. So, again, it's not like the Neville situation whereby within 24 hours we got it confirmed that he did walk out. We can't really confirm that she walked out or if she just didn't show up or what's going on. They said it's because of personal reasons that she's been granted the leave of absence. So it could just be that something's going on and she can't be there. So we can't say that this is a situation where she's upset about her booking or anything like that. We can't say that. It's not the same thing as the Neville thing at all, where it's very clear why Neville freaked the hell out and walked out. Okay, that was a clear reason.
Nobody blamed Neville.
Huh?
Nobody blamed Neville for doing it, too.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll follow it. And again, if anything more gets out about it before Thursday, we're going to be doing a lot of wrestling on Thursday. We'll talk about it. We'll talk SmackDown. We'll talk Raw as we go into TLC. The return of Kane, which apparently is going to have some repercussions for the next couple months. Can't wait for that Kane-Roman Reigns feud. That should be good. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they're going.
Yeah.
You know it.
Doesn't Kane have an election soon?
I guess they're gonna work around it. I don't know. I mean that that's not a one-off. There's no way he's gonna show up today and then wrestle on Sunday and then be done. There's gonna be more to it than that. But
possibly, but he's got an election in November, so.
He has to revenge his brother, Mike. He has to revenge his brother.
So we've heard.
Yes. So, hey, it's good to have Kane. It's always good to have Kane. And he helped Braun Strowman. It was nice.
Nice.
Yes. So we'll talk about the return of Kane. We'll talk about TLC. Tonight's SmackDown, which featured some interesting developments. A lot of you want our thoughts on the Bray Wyatt Sister Abigail Finn Balor Demon Balor program that everybody I know is enjoying so much. Great promo last night by Mr. Balor. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot.
Somebody's got to try.
He did try. I'll give him that. But we'll talk about all that on Thursday, along with doing our usual entertainment stuff, our box office, TV discussion. I was going to lay out things a little differently tonight, but we had so much. It was one of those things where throughout the day, a lot of new stuff got out. Like we had the Hayward thing, and then there's so much going on in baseball and the NBA and everything. I had to kind of reevaluate and move on the fly. So it wasn't exactly laid out the way I wanted to be laid out tonight, but we had to do what we had to do. So, but yeah, so with that being said, again, as I said, the changes will roll through as we go along. But tonight it was more about more important to get the content dealt with the right way than worrying about whether we did things the way we wanted to do them tonight. So yeah, so that's with that being said, let's wind down. So just because the show is over does not mean you have to stop interacting with us or, sending in things for the show or contributing to the show. Please continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, topic ideas, breaking news items, rated sports, entertainment, wrestling, questions about the show, the scheduling of the show, general comments, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 whenever you tweet regarding our show. And again, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and then make sure that you like us. So again, follow us on Facebook and Twitter so you can get all the big alerts about the show, any schedule changes, anything we post about the show, any random thoughts that we post. So if you want to get access to all of those, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Again, on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411, and on Twitter, search for @ITSpotlight411. And once you do that, you'll have access to us. You can follow us, and you'll know everything that's going to happen and all that good stuff. You have 4 ways to keep up with the show. You can stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll be able to stream any of the episodes we've ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from October 2015, all the way up to tonight's episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you wish on Google Plus and YouTube. You can also find us on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, where you can find every episode we've done in the 7 years, I should say, we've been doing the show in audio format for you to listen to on the go, listen to anytime. Whether you missed a show, missed an entire show, missed a part of the show, check out a show from years ago. Whether you're a longtime fan, a more recent fan, whatever the case may be, you can listen to our shows on the go, listen to our shows anytime on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411, and just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites, and you'll have access to every episode we've done in the 7 years we've been doing the show, including our Google Plus and YouTube episodes transferred into audio format for your convenience. All the episodes are in order from most recent to the oldest. So if you're interested in that and listening to us rather than watching us, you can check us out on Podbean and iTunes. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes in Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes are your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on all of those sites. All right. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed. Let's go.
Thank myself and our great show, Pepsi on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and your contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching or listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. That is it for tonight. So again, not the changes I would have liked to have done tonight, but again, content was more important, so we did what we had to do. So again, we'll continue to evolve and go through things as we go along here. Again, real subtle things. I was more short with my beginning and my ending, but we're getting there. So again, we will on Thursday we'll be talking wrestling. We'll preview WWE's TLC pay-per-view. That'll be coming up this Sunday. So if you have any questions or comments, if we have time, we'll address questions and comments. But again, if you want to submit them, you can do so by email, Facebook, Twitter before the show or during the show on Thursday. We'll also do our usual entertainment stuff, box office, TV highlights, film, all that good stuff, all coming up on Thursday. Any baseball playoffs we'll cover while we're on the air on Thursday as well. So all that coming up on Thursday. As far as next week, I'll talk more about that on Thursday as well. And again, we'll continue to implement changes and stuff as we go along here, as we continue to transition the show into some new things and some better things. So, all right, so that's it. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, this Thursday, October the 19th, at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That will be our next show. Until then, have a good night, everybody.